Kings and queens, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day and you're doing well. Dead by Daylight has done an Ask Me Anything for July on their Reddit, and today we're going to summarize some of the most important questions that were answered. Let's go ahead and kick this off. The first question talks about prestige rewards. It says, will we ever get new cosmetics or some type of award for reaching prestige 100? They replied saying, we are presently looking into ways to add more prestige rewards, including those for P100. Looking forward to sharing more info in the future. This is a great one. Dead by Daylight has always had this weird stance on FOMO where sometimes they're for it, sometimes they're against it. Everybody in the community seems to want to have prestige 100 rewards, and it's not really inducing FOMO, it's just to show a reward for those who dedicated all their time to this. So a prestige 100 reward would be amazing, even if it's as simple as a banner or anything like that. I would really like it. One quick announcement before we move forward. G Fuel is having a BOGO sale to celebrate the 4th of July. They're red, white, and G Fuel. Buy one, get one free. This is for dozens of your favorite energy tubs, as well as pretty much any item that you buy. There's still some time to get this. This officially is on now, and it goes until July 5th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, G Fuel has supported me so much. I absolutely love the product. Make sure you guys are clicking the link down below. This is the best time to try it out because it's literally buy one, get one free. It's the best time to purchase anything from them. A big thank you to G Fuel. Make sure you guys are checking out these deals. I definitely stocked up on some of this stuff. Alright, carrying on forward with some of the questions. The next one asks, will it be possible to add an accessory toggle for cosmetics? Essentially backpacks, sunglasses, hats, whatever the case may be. DBD replied in saying, hiding accessories is an excellent idea that we could consider. Thanks for the suggestion. AKA to me, this means it ain't happening, Chief. It's not happening. They always said that sets are kind of made together, and in order to do this, they would have to make like the newer ones different, and it'd be a whole ordeal. I don't see this happening, and if it does happen, it won't be anytime soon. The next question asks about the Rift. It says, why is everything in the Deep Rift blue? Thank you. And they said it's blue because the Rift is blue, and we've gone deeper into it. Joking aside, we will be adjusting how we create variants for our Battle Pass outfits in the future as we continue to update the system and its rewards. They will not always be blue. This is a good thing. The Deep Rift, it always made sense to me why it was blue, but it would be really cool if we had different variations that looked way cooler. I really want Dead by Daylight to experiment with kind of prestige skins. We've seen this in a lot of other games, to name a few: Apex, Fortnite, Call of Duty. Essentially, you have one skin that progressively gets more and more badass, and I think DBD could really do this with the addition of Deep Rift skins, so we'll wait and see exactly what they do. Next on the list was a question basically asking to buff up SoloQ, and by doing this, can we have visible perks in the lobby? So the question was, are there any plans to help SoloQ better to play? Example, making Kindred base kit using the DBD mobile load screen, etc. And they essentially replied saying, we're constantly looking for ways to make the survivor experience better, and we will keep those suggestions in mind. We have been hesitant to implement visible perks in the lobby due to other concerns like griefing and lobby dodging, but the topic as a whole is still in discussion. This one's quite interesting. I never personally thought about the griefing aspect of it. Yes, if you see other people running certain perks, you might dodge the lobby thinking, oh, these people aren't good, 100%, which will then mess up the queues because, as you know, if someone leaves the lobby, it just replaces it with anybody, not someone of similar MMR. So I can understand that aspect of things, 100%. However, I think there's more upside if somehow they can get this to work in the loading screen itself rather than the pregame lobby, which I think in a previous AMA, they said that they couldn't do it anyways. So if there was a way to do it on the loading screen so you're already locked in with your lobby and obviously the killer won't be able to see your loadout, I think it'll be a good idea or suggestion. Next on the list, someone asked about any plans to rework Myers or Freddy, and they said Freddy has an update plan. We'll have more information on that soon, so please stay tuned. And Myers is definitely also on our radar, and we're hoping to see an update for him in the not so distant future. So Freddy might be the next killer to get a rework on the list. We'll have to wait and see. The next question, they also confirmed, they said, as designers, we can't really say we're happy with where Skull Merchant is currently at. at, and it's something we're looking into. Ooh, we have some bigger changes planned for her next year. So next year we can expect some Skull Merchant changes, which is going to be interesting. I know a lot of people don't like playing or going against Skull Merchant. Skull Merchant has been a very notorious chapter in the DBD scene, and I definitely think it can use some improvements as well. So we'll wait and see exactly what those changes entail. The next question is talking about slugging and bleeding out. The question says, slugging has become extremely common lately. A lot of killers create special builds to down all survivors and then wait until they will bleed out on the ground. Some perks like Knockout promote this playstyle even more. Are there any plans to add a feature which will prevent such unpleasant situations? DBD replied saying there are a few big issues of this caliber that we are brainstorming and trying to address in the right way. Other than saying we're working on it, all I can really tell you is that there's issues that are very complicated and all sorts of angles that need to be considered. We're definitely aware of it, and we're trying to be as thorough as we can. Essentially, what they're saying here is that, yes, there's certain builds and playstyles that 100% work with slugging, and slugging is a mechanic that a lot of killers do rely on, and it's a good mechanic in some aspects, and it can be a bad mechanic in some aspects. So it's really difficult to find a good balance. Personally, I think if all 4 people are bleeding out, or even 3 people are bleeding out, or make it so that the more people that are on the floor, you have a bar that lets you bleed out quicker. That way, if you just want to be done with the match, you can be done with the match if you're forced to be slugged. So let's say you've been on the floor for 30 seconds. The option will now pop up. If there's 2 people on the floor, you can bleed out at 2 times the speed, 3 times the speed. If all 4, you can do it 5 times the speed, something like that. So that way, if the game does come down to it, you can just bleed out progressively. I don't know if it's going to be the best balance-wise, but I think it's definitely an option. Again, as I said, slugging can definitely be used by killers in a good regard, so it's not necessarily something they can just be like, all right, let's get rid of it completely. The next question asks, will there be a new roadmap of planned changes? They replied and they said they're working on one right now that should be available by the end of the month. So that's awesome. We'll have a roadmap explaining to us certain things that are coming out. If you haven't seen the roadmap already, they're talking about 2v8 coming out, which is really cool, so that's on the horizon. The next question asks if they will ever increase the prestige further than 100, and they said currently we don't plan on increasing the prestige level beyond 100. This is interesting, and I've spoke about this briefly a couple times, so never like officially. When I went to behavior, I spoke to one of the leads on the team that I don't think is there anymore to my knowledge, and essentially their plan was to increase the prestige 100 to prestige 200, 300, 400, 500, similar to Apex. I always compare DBD to Apex because I know they get heavy inspiration from it, and that was initially their plan. So I don't think they're on the team anymore, so obviously viewpoints change, so it's very interesting to see what they're going to do now. The plan originally was, from what I know, once a good amount of the community, let's say 50, 60, 70% of the community are at prestige 100, they would then increase it to 200, 250, 300, etc. And I think if they had rewards, things like that, it would have been fine, but it seems that that has been changed, so we'll see what they end up doing. Next on the list, they asked, are there any plans to get rid of linked sets? I know a lot of you guys really want linked sets to be removed, and they said linked sets are necessary for some outfits, which makes a bunch of sense. When unlocked, or if they're locked for license purposes due to technical constrictions, we also still only have 3-piece sets at this time. So sets will never be unlocked. Essentially, if there's a set that you really, really like, it will probably never get unlocked. I think the sets that, you know, can be mixed and matched should be mixed and matched, but the ones that are like miniature only or something like that, it doesn't make sense to not be a set, if that makes sense. But the ones that don't really have too much clipping issues visibly, that could potentially work with other outfits, I think we'll let people do what they want, even if it's some of the ugliest things you may see. The next question asks about cosmetic gifting being added to the game. They said we don't have an official statement about it, but it's still in the works and not abandoned. So that's really cool. Being able to give cosmetics would be absolutely amazing. As a Fog Whisperer, I have tons and tons of Auric cells. Like, so much Auric cells that it's probably like 2 or 3 grand worth of Auric cells. I don't use them because I don't play all of the characters, so I don't buy everything every single time. I would love to use those Auric cells to gift things away to the community one way way or the other. So a gifting system will be absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we'll see something like that in the future. Next on the list, someone asks, are there any plans to expand the features of legendary characters? For example, giving them their own menu portraits when selected, bloody prestige cosmetics, etc. They said yes. We have been considering a system for legendary outfits that would allow them to have their own outfits and other visibility options, like a character in the selection menu. We have a bunch of legendary outfits that we'd love to get different variations for too. That's actually some pretty big news. So the legendary outfits that we have in the game could just be their own characters. So if you see, let's say, a Lisa or something like that, she can then have different variations of herself, which I think will be absolutely amazing, because essentially it's like you're playing a whole different survivor, with the exception of not having the perks, which I think it's fine if you're a big fan of any of those series. Next on the list, someone asked about hidden prestiges, and they said there's going to be an update giving out around the Castlevania chapter release. This is good because I know they've been testing this for a very, very long time, especially now that so many people are getting into Prestige 100s. A lot of people end up dodging lobbies, which then makes them a little bit more imbalanced. So hopefully we'll hear more information very soon, and according to this, we will be. Someone asked, is there only one golden toolbox per realm? And they said it is indeed one per realm, even if visually it's different. I take from the question that you look for these kind of Easter eggs, and I like it too. Let's see what else we can come up with in the future. It's always fun finding Easter eggs in DBD. The golden toolbox has been a staple of Dead by Daylight Easter eggs since the beginning of the game. Next on the list, someone asked about the swamp rework, and they said yes, and that will depend on what opens up in the roadmap. Our art team has some great ideas already on the level design side. We will also do a pass on the tiles to make sure the gameplay is consistent with the rest of the game. No more generators on fence tiles, so that's good. We are going to still see the swamp being reworked. This is good. The swamp has just been one of those maps that has not been touched in forever, and that's the reason why people have wanted it. Since my interview with Matthew Cote all the way back in New York City Comic Con, I asked him about this, and we're now finally potentially going to be getting it. A pretty big one for me, someone asked if there's any plans on making variations to original maps such as daytime, nighttime, and I said yes, this is something we are considering for the future. We are looking into what we need. This is really cool. I always thought a day and night feature would be absolutely amazing for Dead by Daylight. The maps look so cool when they're set to different times, even if there's a weather cycle. If they manage to get it really optimized, because DBD does have quite a lot of optimization issues, I think it'll be really awesome. So we'll wait and see, but a day and night cycle will be fantastic. Next on the list, someone asked, will there be rework to certain perks or killers that are really outdated and unused? And they said definitely. Our recent update for the twins had that exact goal. In fact, low use characters don't always make up the top of the list, but we tried to update them periodically. I think this is good. They said as for perks, we have shifted our focus to include more boosts for low use perks and the effort for diversity in the meta. I think these two are great points. I think if every single chapter, or mid chapter I should say, you know, they obviously focus on two main killers to get adjusted. If they also pop in just some quality of life changes, you don't need to think about them too hard for the really low picked killers, to just see if anybody else would start picking up that killer and see if more players would go and play them. Just quality of life things. It doesn't need to be anything that's major. I think that would go a very, very long way. I've always said for perks as well, if they made the lower tier perks have great synergy with the higher used perks, it will kick other perks out of the meta. For example, let's say you took a perk like barbecue and chili, right? You break it down into two, which it kind of already did. One that gives you aura, one that gives you extra bonus blood points. And then you made one of the lower tier perks do one of those effects with something else to spice it up. And the same thing with the other side. Then someone would have to use two perks instead of that one meta perk. That way they have less slots to use other meta perks. I hope that made sense, but essentially take the really good perks, break them down into two perks, and then people would have to use two of those perks. And it doesn't necessarily mean nerfing that perk, but just make some sort of synergy with the perks that aren't used whatsoever, so they have an actual purpose in the game. Next on the list, someone asked about generators, and they replied saying, we are currently exploring different type of gameplay for generators and how we would create something that feels fresh and interesting for players. Here's a hint, we're actually something coming to you in the future event. So that's pretty interesting. Generators might get a update. Who knows what it could be? Maybe it won't just be skill checks. Maybe you actually have to press certain buttons. Maybe you have to turn on switches. Maybe it is a start game collapse. We'll have to wait and see, but generators potentially could be getting an update, which is really interesting. Next on the list, they actually confirmed some of the maps that progressively could get some changes. They said, for the upcoming chapter, we've made significant changes to the Forgotten Ruins, improving the pallet count and the placement of exit gates. These updates will be available in the next mid-chapter patch. Our community managers recently asked players on the forums which maps needed prioritizing for updates. Haddonfield was a top request, and we've released an update version of the map earlier this year. Next on the list for updates are Bad Am Preschool, Garden of Joy, Midwich, and Swamp. So we know what maps are progressively going to be worked on, or possibly going to be worked on, I should say, which is really cool. Next, someone asked about Pyramid Head, if he's going to pretty much get an add-on pass, and they said, we have a design for this. I wish I could give you more dates on release, but they don't want to spoil the mystery, so Pyramid Head add-ons are going to be changed in the future, which is really, really nice. And that pretty much wraps up all of the Ask Me Anything big questions, I should say. There was some interesting things in here. We did learn a few things here and there, but nothing that's really like, whoa. But some interesting points nonetheless. But there you go, kings and queens. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy a bit of a longer one, but nonetheless, it was quite fun. Don't forget, G Fuel is having a huge BOGO sale. Make sure you're checking it out. Link in the description, and a big thank you to G Fuel for always showing their love and support to me. They have been amazing. For those that care, I am also back on Twitch. We've been pretty spotty with everything, but I've been taking the past few days to really amp up Twitch and make everything good. We got new channel point rewards. We got Jeopardy and game shows on stream itself. So make sure you guys are tuning in. Our schedule is Monday to Thursday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be giving away DLC codes. We'll be giving away Twitch drops. We're also going to be playing game shows there. Make sure you guys are coming on out. Twitch.tv/theking. Hopefully we see you guys there. But that's going to do it for me. As always, I'm the King. I tip my crown to you guys, and we'll see you in the fog.